Will a new
Hello
purpose-built
there,
city
I
in
am
Jamaica
Upright
be a good
News and what
thing,
news
and
have
can
I got
IT
for you
happen?
today? Well, this is really for Jamaica and Jamaicans because Andrew Holness is planning a new city in Kingston, well, in the parish of St Elizabeth. And we've got some people up in arms. Some of the residents are sceptical. They feel as though they might get left behind. It's only going to benefit tourists and it's only going to benefit investors, and they're not going to be any better off. They feel that they might be outpriced and a lot of different things going on. But I wanted to share with you some of the realities of Andrew Holness's plan and whether or not you need to worry about it for now. It might not even happen in your lifetime, depending on how old you are. These projects take billions of money. You have to think about how they acquire land and all of the legal ramifications. You have to think about there's lots of things that are going to make it take not only the billions of US dollars that they're going to need, but the time and the planning and all of that kind of stuff. So, yes, it's feasible, maybe not even in his lifetime. But like I said, let me go through my notes so that you can have an idea of the reality of this situation, or at least some of my thoughts and some thoughts I've garnered from, just through asking people and researching and stuff like that. Sorry. So, why is the Prime Minister Andrew Holness pushing for a new purpose-built city in Jamaica, particularly in Elizabeth? Apparently, the new city in St Elizabeth is part of a vision to give the people the ability to live and work and earn where they live. Because currently, agriculture is low wage and seasonal. Many youths do not want to farm. There are a few large employers there, are a few high paying, stable jobs there, and manufacturing and technology sectors are practically non existent. And tourism in the parish is small scale and scattered. That's one of the main reasons. So, although St Elizabeth is rich in culture, agriculture, and history, several structural problems make it hard for residents to both live and find stable work there. For example, they're also scattered and they have to travel far to work. So, a scattered rural layout without an urban centre, meaning instead of one main town or city where most activities happen, Andrew Holness wants residents to be brought together. So in St Elizabeth, in Kingston or St Elizabeth, residents are spread across dozens of small separate communities, like Junction, Southfield, Treasure Beach, Lacovia, Balaclava, Malvern, Parrotty, Nain, Santa Cruz. It's bustling, but it's not a full city. So these places are far apart, each with small populations. So what Andrew is saying is that he wants to bring everything more or less under one umbrella. Currently, people live far apart, no big town that brings everything together. There are no services and jobs are spread thin. And even where jobs exist, for example, in Santa Cruz and Black River, housing is inexpensive and in short supply. Another reason why the Prime Minister wants to build a purpose built city in Kingston is because there are not enough colleges, universities, or training centres in the area, nor places to study after high school, and not enough programs that teach skills for good jobs. In other words, there aren't enough schools or training programs for people after high school. So these are all the arguments that Andrew Holness is making for building a purpose built city in St Elizabeth. Um, he reckons at the moment residents travel far to work. The area lacks the pull needed to attract major investments. It's the opposite of a city where people, jobs, housing, and services are close together. There's insufficient housing near the existing workplaces. There's a heavy dependence on climate, and that's a problem because it means most people's income and food depend on farming. but farming in places like St. Elizabeth is strongly affected by drought more than anywhere else. Heat, storms, and changing weather. So, Holness' argument is that a purpose built city would fix all of this by creating a new economic centre where jobs and housing and infrastructure are designed to work together. His planned city will offer structured housing, a mixed income development, and to build the city, the Jamaican government will need to secure long-term investment in roads, energy, technology, and other major projects that help to build industries, create better jobs, and grow the economy in a lasting way. So, this is where it gets. Whether or not it's feasible, whether or not you need to worry about it now, or whether you just say, let them do what they want and it'll come out in the wash. So it will rely on public-private partnerships, special economic zones, development bank and donor finance, and blended finance deals, backed by preparatory work from institutions like the Development Bank of Jamaica. The government will therefore need to offer support and incentives to investors and plan projects in stages so that long-term infrastructure becomes safe and attractive for investors to fund. It's no easy task. It's a lovely vision, but it's not going to be easy. So, St. Elizabeth was chosen because Holness says it has all the requisite elements for new city: geographic advantages, economic potential, and cultural heritage. There's a bit here that I thought was really important. Will it succeed? Well, first of all, what are some of the concerns? Some of the concerns are that residents are sceptical about Jamaica new city plans, especially in St. Elizabeth, that the people say they weren't properly consulted. Local leaders and mayors have publicly criticised how decisions, e.g. Portmore Parish city moves, were being pushed through without adequate local input or transparent consultation. It happens here as well. Many worry about boundary changes and city status could be politically motivated and could change who represents them, reducing their voice in elections and local government. There's a fear that the city will attract higher end development aimed at outside investors or tourists, rather than creating affordable housing and jobs for local people. That feeds a broader anxiety about deepening inequality. So while Holness presents the city as inclusive, it's unclear yet how much the development will benefit ordinary Jamaicans versus investors. It's believed that for his crime reduction argument to work, development must actually improve social conditions, not just build new infrastructure. Will he succeed? Well, projects that have succeeded, although delayed, was the Highway 2000. It took years, but it was completed. The North-South Highway, that was completed with Chinese investment. Montego Bay Bypass, that's still under construction, but it's progressing, but it's moving at least. And the Port Royal Cruise Pier, that's completed. Projects that failed or stalled, we've got the Vernon Field Aerotropolis, promised but not delivered. Logistics Hub Initiative, stalled after major announcements. Goat Island Port. The biggest barrier, to build a new city, you'll need billions of US dollars over many years. Jamaica's challenges: government debt remains high, although lower than before. Public finances are tightly controlled by IMF-style fiscal rules. And Jamaica rarely self-finances megacities. It relies on foreign investors. Holness has said the city must be self-financing. That means land sales, private investment, public-private partnerships, long-term returns, not upfront government spending. And what about acquiring the land? A new city requires thousands of acres. That means buying land from private owners, relocating residents, resolving disputes, dealing with informal settlements, compensating farmers. And then we have we've got environmental approvals, prime agricultural land, water scarce zones, fragile ecosystems, heritage sites, hurricane and flood risks. So he's got a strong vision, but it's going to take decades to complete. That's the long and short of it. It's going to need urban planners, master architects, zoning experts, environmental scientists, finance teams. So